just yesterday, our body, our delegate body, in this virtual way, endorsed you for president. You know that our executive council did it in the primary, but yesterday, by over 90%, you are now our endorsed candidate for the American Federation of Teachers for president, and we will do everything we can to get you elected, not just to defeat Donald Trump, but I want to say this again for our members. And I've said this to you, and I want them to hear it again, which is you are caring, you are effective, you are honest, and you are decent. This is not just about defeating Donald Trump and all of the things that he is and isn't in terms of chaotic, narcissistic, and things like that. What you bring at this moment of time is what a nation needs in terms of the empathy, the understanding, the caring about people, the listening to people. I saw that throughout the Obama administration. You know, I've often said that you are our go-to person. And it is just that in some ways, you deciding to run at this moment, pre-COVID, and what we now need with three intersecting crises, two of which you know how to solve. A health crisis. Actually, I would argue you can solve all three of them, but you've solved a health crisis before. You've solved a recession before. So in some ways, the country is, and we are really blessed that you decided to run this time, and that you will be getting, not only you've effectively gotten the nomination, but you will be, after the Democratic National Convention, the Democratic candidate, and ultimately, we need you. We all need you as president. We need a country that can heal. We need a country that sees its soul, and we need a country that is about how we get to our better angels. And that's why I am so appreciative that you're here today, that I can say that to you directly in front of everyone. It's not just about the platform, as important as that is. It's about who you are and what you bring with you, your character, your soul, your empathy, your caring. This country needs that right now, and we are really, really blessed that you offer yourself up and decided to run at this moment.
There's one issue that's the top of the mind right now, and that's the pandemic, and it should be the top of the mind. We saw this challenge coming, but we've been calling for the president to address this since as early as January. But Donald Trump failed to take any action, and testing and tracing and everything we need to get this under control, to get our educators and students back to the classroom safely. And he just, every single opportunity has missed a chance or taken us in the other direction. There's no mystery about what needs to be done. When we faced with a crisis back in 2009, we knew we had to stand up for educators. So when the president asked me to oversee that Recovery Act, over $800 billion, we allocated $60 billion, then $60 billion, to local school districts and saved 400,000 education jobs.
Yes, you did.
Because the states didn't have the money.
Yes, you did.
Didn't have the money. But this time, when the pandemic struck, Trump has dropped the ball again. He didn't make you a priority. And now state and local governments are facing huge, huge budget shortfalls. And Speaker Pelosi and the House did their job. They passed the so-called HEROES Act, providing $915 billion for state and local governments. But Trump and the Senate Republicans refused to do their job.
Yep.
The proposal put forward by Mitch McConnell is completely out of touch. It's meager support. They're offering for schools and local governments. It isn't close to what's needed. And it's being used as a cudgel to force schools to reopen when they may not be ready to reopen. No, and it doesn't fund educators. This isn't a game.
Right.
We've lost more than 900,000 education jobs since the pandemic started due to the budget cuts. That's absolutely unacceptable. 2 weeks ago, I put out my roadmap for opening our schools. Another plan I hope the president would at least listen to. It's a plan driven by science. But Donald Trump may contend to continue to move and force educators and students back into the classroom without a plan to keep them safe. It's not about whether or not, this doesn't fly with me. It's not about whether or not he cares about education. It's about he wants to make sure that he looks better. We need to implement national testing and tracing rules. You get your nurses the protective gear they need. Provide an adequate supply of masks to every school in America. Set effective national safety guidelines. Empower local decision makers to decide what's best for their community at the moment. And provide $90 billion in emergency funding to preserve these jobs and keep schools open. You know, we need to get this done, and we need to get it done now. But this is only the start, because once we get ahead of this pandemic, and it's going to be tough, because you remember, Randy, I remember you asking me in one of the forums I was with, one of your folks asked, well, what am I going to do when I'm president? I said, it will depend on what I'm left with.
Right.
No, I really mean it. Look at the damage that has been done just since March by this president not dealing with this pandemic. And God knows, if you look at the projections now, what's going to happen between now and January of 2021, it's catastrophic, some of the stuff being talked about. So we can't just go back to the way things were.
No.
We have to build back better. That means tripling funding for Title I schools, giving raises to the teachers that deserve it, getting you the resources you need. We need, look, we're going to double the number of school psychologists and counselors and nurses and social workers in schools. We badly need them, especially now.
Right.
We can tackle the mental health crisis. We can build the economy that's responsive to the needs of working families. We can provide affordable quality health care and elder care, ease the burden of caring for loved ones. We can make sure those of you who are early childhood educators can get a raise, new training and new opportunities. You know, here's the bottom line. So often, it's in the wake of the darkest moments that America's forged some of the most remarkable eras of progress. And I believe we're on the brink of one of those opportunities. If we can overcome this crisis, and I believe we can if we start doing the right things, we'll be in an incredibly strong position to make progress. So thank you for allowing me to join you. I know you know me, there's a lot more I want to say to y'all, but there's so much you've done already. And, you know, I want everybody to know, if any the press is listening, and they do know, you don't just represent educators, you represent a whole range of, you represent nurses, you represent across the board. But every one of them are on the front line. Every one of them. Every single one of them. And so I want to thank you for letting me join the fight with you. And Randy, thank you for your personal friendship. I appreciate it.
And starting today, we are distributing our Biden for President shirts. I don't know if I'm getting it right, but you're going to see people all over the country, remote, virtual. We're doing over 100,000 calls, emails every single day, and 83% of our membership was registered to vote in the last presidential. 73% voted. We're going to get that number up and up and up, and we're going to see you in the White House. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
My mom would say, God love you. Thank you. Any country that out-educates us is going to out-compete us. Don't tell me what you value. Show me your budget, and I will tell you what you value. I promise you one thing. If Jill and I end up in the White House, you're not going to ever have a better friend for education ever, ever, ever than you've had. I promise you that. There's an overwhelming need for wraparound support for you. You're expected to be a social worker. You're expected to be a counselor. Teaching is not what you do, it's who you are.
He's actually willing to support and stand with us to get to our next step that we need to get to.
No, these are not somebody else's kids. They're all our kids. We're going to triple the amount of money we spend on Title I schools, from $15 billion to $45 billion a year. And I promise you, Randy, I will get it done.
Teachers are often forced to use a scripted curriculum that rushes children through. Will you commit to ending the use of standardized testing in public schools?
Yes. You should be able to set the dynamic as how to teach. Teaching to a test underestimates and discounts the things that are most important for students to know.
we need to get out and vote in mass numbers because our livelihoods depend upon it.